A daring escape. The alarms blared through the sterile corridors of Alpha 9, the galaxy's most secure prison. Anthony Stark's heart raced as he sprinted down the metallic hallways, the echo of his boots pounding against the unforgiving floor. His muscular frame was tightly encased in a prison jumpsuit that felt like a second skin. For years, he had meticulously planned every detail of his escape, and now, the moment he had waited for had finally arrived. "Stop right there, Stark," a guard shouted, his voice crackling through the intercom as he aimed a laser rifle at Anthony's back. Anthony smirked, adrenaline surging through him, not breaking his stride. "Sorry, pal, I've got a date with freedom," he shot back, vaulting over a security barrier with practiced ease. His enhanced reflexes, a remnant of his days as an elite space marine, gave him an edge that few could match. The guard's shot went wide, the laser scorching the wall just inches from where Anthony's head had been a split second earlier. He rounded the corner and spotted his target, the emergency escape pods. He had disabled the lockdown protocols days ago, lying in wait for the perfect moment to strike. Chaos erupted around him, alarms wailing and guards shouting, creating a symphony of disorder that only fueled his determination. As he dashed toward the pods, Anthony could hear the heavy footsteps of guards behind him, the shouts of command echoing through the hall. He reached the control panel, slamming his palm against the activation button. The door hissed open, and he dove inside just as a volley of laser fire erupted behind him. The pod sealed shut, and he punched in the launch sequence. "So long, suckers," he muttered, a grin spreading across his face as the pod rocketed away from Alpha 9. His victory, however, was short-lived. Alarms blared inside the tiny craft, warning of a critical system failure. Anthony's eyes widened as he realized the guards had managed to damage the pod during his escape. The navigation system was fried, and he was hurtling through space with no way to control his trajectory. "Just great," Anthony growled, strapping himself into the seat as the pod began to shake violently. He gritted his teeth as the craft entered the atmosphere of an unknown planet, flames licking at the view screen. The last thing he saw before impact was a blur of lush green vegetation. With a bone-jarring crash, the escape pod slammed into the ground, and Anthony was thrown against the restraints. He groaned, his head pounding as he regained consciousness. Blinking against the dim light, he tried to focus on his surroundings. The pod lay in ruins around him, smoke billowing from its twisted frame. Somehow, he had survived the crash. As his vision cleared, he found himself staring into a pair of the most captivating eyes he had ever seen. They were a mesmerizing shade of emerald, set in a face of impossible beauty. And that face was green. "Are you an angel?" Anthony mumbled, still dazed from the impact. A melodious laugh filled the air, light and musical. "I don't know what an angel is, but I can assure you I'm very real," the woman replied, her voice like honey. Anthony shook his head, trying to clear the fog from his mind. He focused on the figure before him, a woman with vibrant green skin and curves that would make a goddess jealous. She wore clothing that seemed to be made from iridescent leaves, hugging her form in all the right places. "I'm Roxy," the green-skinned beauty said, helping Anthony to his feet. "And you're the first human I've ever seen in person. What's your name, stranger?" Anthony flashed his most charming smile, ignoring the ache in his ribs. "Anthony Stark, at your service. And might I say, I've always thought green was my favorite color." Roxy's cheeks darkened to a deeper shade of green. Was she blushing? "Oh, are you always this direct?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Only when I meet beautiful women on strange planets after narrowly escaping death," Anthony quipped, wincing as he tried to take a step. "Speaking of which, where exactly am I?" "You're on Zen 3, Roxy explained, supporting his weight as they moved away from the crash site. "It's not often we get visitors, especially ones that fall from the sky." "Are you in trouble?" Anthony chuckled, though it turned into a grimace of pain. What gave it away? The dramatic crash landing or the dashing good looks? Roxy giggled, the sound like music to Anthony's ears. Both, actually. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe. You can tell me all about your troubles and about Earth. I've always been curious about your planet. As they made their way through the lush alien landscape, Anthony couldn't help but marvel at his luck. Sure, he was a fugitive on an unknown world, but he had a gorgeous guide who seemed genuinely interested in him. Things could be worse. So, Roxy, Anthony said, his natural charm kicking in despite his injuries, do you often take in stranded space criminals, or am I just special? Roxy raised an eyebrow, her green lips quirking into a smile. Space criminal. That sounds exciting and dangerous. I prefer misunderstood hero, Anthony replied with a wink. But I promise I'm only a danger to those who deserve it, and to my own health, apparently. They arrived at what appeared to be a dwelling carved into an enormous bioluminescent tree. The entire structure pulsed with a soft, otherworldly glow. Welcome to my home, Roxy said, helping Anthony inside. It's not much, but it's safe, and it has a great view. View of the triple moons. Anthony whistled appreciatively as he took in the organic, flowing architecture. It's beautiful, just like its owner. Roxy's blush deepened again. You really are direct, aren't you? Is this how humans usually interact? Only the charming ones, Anthony said with a grin, settling onto what appeared to be a living chair that conformed perfectly to his body. So, what do you want to know about Earth? Roxy's eyes lit up with excitement. Everything. But especially, how do humans court each other? What are your mating rituals like? Anthony nearly choked on air. Well, that's certainly jumping right into the deep end. Typically, we start with something called a date, usually dinner by candlelight, maybe some dancing. That sounds romantic, Roxy said, leaning in closer. And then what happens? Anthony felt his pulse quicken at her proximity. He could smell something like exotic flowers and sweet fruit. Well, that depends on how well the date goes. Sometimes there's a goodnight kiss, sometimes more. Roxy's eyes widened. More like what? Let's just say it involves a lot of hands-on biology lessons, Anthony said, his voice low and husky. Roxy clapped her hands together, her whole face lighting up. Oh, I love biology. Perhaps you could teach me sometime. Anthony couldn't believe his luck. Here he was, a fugitive on an alien world, being propositioned by the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen, green skin and all. I'd be more than happy to give you a thorough education, he said, his voice playful. But first, I should probably explain why I crash-landed on your planet. It's a bit of a long story. Roxy settled in beside him, her body radiating an intoxicating warmth. I've got all the time in the world, Anthony, and I'm a very attentive student. As Anthony began to recount the tale of his wrongful imprisonment and daring escape, he couldn't help but feel that his luck was finally changing. Sure, he was still a wanted man, stranded on an alien world, but with Roxy by his side, suddenly the future looked a whole lot brighter and greener. As the first rays of Zen 3's triple suns peeked through the bioluminescent leaves of Roxy's tree home, Anthony stirred from his makeshift bed. He winced, his body still ached from the crash, but a smile played on his lips as he remembered where he was and who he was with. Good morning, space criminal, Roxy's melodious voice called out as she appeared in the doorway, holding what looked like a pulsating purple fruit. I brought you breakfast. It's a goral fruit, very good for healing. Anthony sat up, eyeing the fruit warily. Thanks, beautiful, but I'm not sure my Earth stomach is ready for alien cuisine just yet. Roxy's face fell. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Hey, don't worry, Anthony interrupted, flashing his most charming smile. He took the fruit and bit into it, surprised by its pleasant tangy flavor. Delicious. Almost as sweet as you. Roxy's cheeks darkened to a deep emerald. You really are incorrigible, aren't you? Part of my charm, Anthony replied with a wink as he finished eating. His mind raced. He needed to start investigating the conspiracy that had landed him in Alpha 9, but he also couldn't deny his growing attraction to Roxy. "So, any chance you could give me a tour of your world? It might help me figure out my next move." Roxy's eyes lit up. "I'd love to. But first, you promised to tell me more about Earth customs, especially," she leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper, "mating rituals." Anthony nearly choked on his goral fruit. "Right, well, on Earth, we usually start with something called dating. Two people who are interested in each other go out and do activities together." "Like what?" Roxy asked, her curiosity evident. "Oh, you know, dinner, movies, long walks on the beach," Anthony said, his mind racing for ideas that might translate to an alien world. "Say, do you have beaches here on Zen 3? Roxy nodded enthusiastically. "We have crystal shores. The sand changes color with the tides. I could take you there." "Sounds perfect," Anthony said, standing up and stretching. "Lead the way, gorgeous." As they made their way through the lush alien landscape, Anthony couldn't help but marvel at the beauty around him, both the planet and his guide. Roxy pointed out various plants and creatures, her excitement infectious. "And that's a shimmerfly," she said, indicating a creature that looked like a cross between a butterfly and a jellyfish. "They're bioluminescent and absolutely gorgeous." Anthony finished his observation, his eyes locked on Roxy rather than the creature, just like everything else on this planet. Roxy blushed again, but her eyes sparkled with mischief. "You know, on Zen 3, such blatant flirtation is considered a prelude to mating." Anthony raised an eyebrow, a grin spreading across his face. "Is that so? And what would the next step be?" "Well," Roxy said, stepping closer, "typically the interested parties would engage in a ritual dance to demonstrate their physical compatibility." "Dance, huh?" Anthony chuckled. "I might be a bit rusty, but I'm willing to give it a shot." Roxy's face lit up. "Really? Oh, this will be so much fun." Before Anthony could react, Roxy had taken his hands and begun to move in a complex series of steps. Her body undulated in ways that defied human anatomy, her green skin shimmering in the alien sunlight. Anthony tried to follow along, but his movements were clumsy in comparison. He stumbled, nearly falling, but Roxy caught him with surprising strength. "Sorry," he said, breathless. "I guess I'm not cut out for alien dancing." Roxy laughed, the sound like tinkling bells. "That's okay. It's cute watching you try. Now tell me more about how humans show interest in each other." As they continued their walk, Anthony regaled Roxy with tales of Earth courtship rituals, from cheesy pickup lines to grand romantic gestures. Roxy listened with rapt attention, occasionally asking questions that made Anthony blush. "So this kissing," Roxy said, her brow furrowed in confusion, "you press your mouths together. That doesn't sound very hygienic." Anthony laughed. "Trust me, when it's with the right person, hygiene is the last thing on your mind." They arrived at the crystal shores Roxy had mentioned, and the sand indeed shifted colors, from deep purple to shimmering gold. The waves lapped gently at the shore, and Anthony whistled in appreciation. "Now this," he said, "would make for one hell of a first date." Roxy tilted her head, intrigued. "Date? Oh, you mean one of those courtship activities you mentioned?" "Exactly," Anthony replied, an idea forming. "In fact, why don't we consider this our first date? I'll show you how we do things on Earth." Roxy's eyes widened with excitement. "Oh yes, please." The promise of adventure shimmered in the air around them, and Anthony felt a spark of hope igniting within him. This alien world, once a place of confusion and danger, was now full of possibilities, and he was ready to explore them, hand in hand with the beautiful Roxy. Little did he know, their journey was just beginning, and the secrets of Zen 3 were waiting to be uncovered. The first date. The sun rose higher in the sky, casting a golden glow across the shimmering sands of crystal shores. Anthony stood on the beach, his heart racing with excitement and nervous anticipation. It felt surreal to be here, on an alien planet, with an enchanting green-skinned woman who was equally as curious about him as he was about her. Roxy moved gracefully along the shoreline, her bare feet barely leaving an impression on the shifting sands. "Welcome to Crystal Shores," she exclaimed, her voice bright and full of enthusiasm. "This is one of my favorite places on Zen 3. It's magical at sunset, but it's beautiful during the day too." "Magical, huh?" Anthony replied, taking in the breathtaking scenery. The sands sparkled like gemstones under the sun, and the waves lapped at the shore with a rhythmic, soothing sound. "I can see why you love it here. It's incredible." Roxy giggled, her laughter ringing like bells. "I can't wait to show you everything. But first, let's have some fun." With that, she dashed into the shallow waters, splashing about like a carefree child. Anthony couldn't help but smile at her exuberance. "Hey, wait for me," he shouted, chasing after her. As he entered the cool water, it felt refreshing against his skin, a welcome contrast to the heat of the day. Roxy turned around and splashed him, her green skin glistening as the water droplets danced off her body. "Is that how humans play?" she teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Something like that." Anthony laughed, splashing back. The playful banter filled the air with joy, and for a moment, he forgot about the turmoil of his past. This was his first real experience of freedom, and it was exhilarating. As they played, Roxy began to explain the unique aspects of her world. The tides here are influenced by the moons. When the blue moon rises, the water turns a deeper shade of turquoise, and when the red moon is high, it sparkles with a crimson hue. Each color brings a different kind of energy to the beach, and many believe it affects our moods and how we feel. "Wow, that sounds amazing," Anthony exclaimed, intrigued. "And what do people do here when the moons rise?" "We have celebrations," Roxy said, her excitement palpable. "People come together to dance, sing, and tell stories. It's a time for joy and community. I've always dreamed of seeing Earth celebrations. What do humans do?" "Well, it depends on where you are," Anthony began, his enthusiasm building. "In my city, we have festivals with music, food, and fireworks. People gather to celebrate holidays, like the 4th of July. It's a big deal, filled with parades and barbecues, and everyone comes together to enjoy the festivities." Roxy listened intently, her eyes wide with fascination. "That sounds wonderful. I would love to experience that. Do you think I could come with you someday?" "Absolutely," Anthony replied, his heart swelling at the thought of sharing his world with her. "I'll show you everything from the bustling city streets to the peaceful countryside." Their playful splashing slowly calmed as they settled into the shallows, the waves gently lapping at their bodies. Anthony glanced over at Roxy, her hair flowing like emerald ribbons in the water. "So, tell me more about your culture. What are some customs that are unique to Zen 3? Roxy pondered for a moment, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. "Well, we have many traditions that revolve around nature. For example, during the changing of the seasons, we hold a ceremony to thank the earth for its gifts. We celebrate growth and renewal, planting seeds in the soil and sharing food from the harvest. It's a time of gratitude." "That sounds beautiful," Anthony said, genuinely moved. "We have similar customs on Earth, where we give thanks for what we have. There's something special about honoring nature and its cycles." "Yes, and on Zen 3, we believe that every being, no matter how small, plays a role in the balance of life. We have a deep respect for all living things. It's part of our philosophy." Anthony nodded, impressed. "That's a valuable perspective. It's easy to forget sometimes in our busy lives. Maybe I could learn a thing or two from you." "Definitely." Roxy smiled brightly. "And I want to learn more about human life. What are some of the things you value most?" "Well, I'd say family, friendship, and the pursuit of knowledge are pretty important to us," Anthony replied, looking out at the horizon. "We strive to understand the universe and our place in it, often through exploration and innovation." Roxy's expression turned serious. "Exploration? Like traveling to other worlds. Exactly, he replied, his mind drifting to the stars. Humanity has always been curious about what lies beyond our planet. We've sent people to the moon and robots to Mars. It's all about seeking new experiences and understanding. Roxy's eyes sparkled with admiration. I love that. Curiosity is such a beautiful trait. We have a similar thirst for knowledge here. Our elders teach us the stories of our ancestors and the lessons they learned. Knowledge is a treasure that we pass down through generations. As the waves continued to lap around them, Anthony felt a deep connection forming between them. It's amazing how much we have in common, despite coming from different worlds. Exactly, Roxy exclaimed, her voice filled with enthusiasm. And speaking of connection, do you want to learn the traditional Zen 3 dance? Absolutely, show me what you've got, Anthony said, ready for another adventure. Roxy beamed, stepping out of the water and onto the warm sand. She demonstrated the first step of the dance, her movements fluid and graceful, embodying the rhythm of the ocean. This dance mimics the waves. You need to feel the music in your heart, she instructed. Anthony watched, captivated by her elegance. All right, I'll try, he said, stepping beside her. As he attempted to mimic her movements, he stumbled again, his clumsy steps contrasting with her flowing grace. Roxy giggled, her laughter echoing across the beach. Just let go and follow the rhythm. It's all about feeling the moment, not worrying about getting it right. Taking a deep breath, Anthony let the music of the waves guide him. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to let go of his worries and embrace the experience. Slowly, he began to move in sync with Roxy, their bodies flowing together like the tide. That's it, Roxy cheered, encouraging him as they danced together. They laughed and twirled, lost in the joy of the moment. Anthony felt alive, exhilarated by the connection they were forging. Okay, I think I'm getting the hang of it, he declared, surprising himself with newfound confidence. Now, let's try the second part, Roxy said, showing him the next sequence, a series of spins and turns. This is called the wave dance. It's meant to honor the ocean and the life within it. As they danced, the sun began its descent, casting a warm, golden hue over the beach. The colors of the sand shifted, transitioning from vibrant gold to shades of deep purple and blue, mirroring the hues of the twilight sky. It was a breathtaking sight, and Anthony couldn't help but marvel at the beauty surrounding them. Roxy, this place is incredible, he said, breathless from both the dancing and the scenery. I never imagined I would find something so stunning in my adventures. Just wait until sunset, she replied, her eyes gleaming with excitement. The sky transforms into a canvas of colors, reds, oranges, and pinks that reflect off the water. It's like a dream. I can't wait, Anthony said, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. He looked into Roxy's eyes, and in that moment he knew he wanted to experience every moment with her. I'm glad I crash-landed here. Roxy blushed, her cheeks taking on a deeper shade of green. Me too, she said softly. I've never met anyone like you, Anthony. You bring a different kind of energy to my world. Before Anthony could respond, the sky transformed as Roxy had promised, the colors swirling above them in a dazzling display. The air became charged with magic, and the world seemed to glow. Wow, Anthony breathed, completely captivated. This is beyond anything I could have imagined. As the sun dipped lower, casting shimmering reflections on the water, Roxy took his hand. This is just the beginning, Anthony. There's so much more to see and explore. Together, we can discover the wonders of Zen 3. The excitement in Roxy's voice ignited a spark of adventure in Anthony's heart. I'm ready for anything, he said, squeezing her hand gently. With that, they continued to dance, the waves crashing around them, and the stars began to twinkle overhead. It was a moment filled with promise, a new beginning on a foreign world, where two unlikely companions were forging a connection that would transcend the boundaries of their worlds. Little did they know, their adventures were just starting, and the true challenges that lay ahead would test their bond and reveal the strength of their spirits. Together, they would face whatever the universe threw at them, fueled by curiosity, laughter, and the undeniable spark of something deeper, the Festival of Moons. As the last remnants of sunlight slipped below the horizon, painting the sky with brilliant shades of purple and orange, Roxy and Anthony stood hand in hand on the shore of crystal shores, their laughter mingling with the sound of crashing waves. The air was filled with the sweet scent of exotic flowers wafting in from nearby groves, and the atmosphere crackled with the anticipation of a celebration that would soon begin. "Tonight is a festival of moons," Roxy announced, her eyes shimmering with excitement. "It's the biggest celebration we have on Zen 3. Everyone in my village gathers here to honor the moons and the beauty of our world." "Festival of Moons," Anthony echoed, intrigued. "What exactly do you do?" "Oh, it's a night filled with dance, music, and storytelling," Roxy explained, her enthusiasm infectious. "We believe that the alignment of the moons brings special energy, and we celebrate the blessings of our world and the connections we share with each other." "That sounds amazing," Anthony said, envisioning the vibrant festivities. "Is it true that the moons change colors during the festival?" "Yes," Roxy replied, her face lighting up. "Tonight, the blue moon will rise first, followed by the red moon, and finally the green moon. Each one brings a different theme to the festival: joy, passion, and harmony." "I'd love to see that," Anthony said, his heart racing with excitement. "What do we need to do to prepare?" Roxy grinned, her playful spirit shining through. "First, we need to gather some traditional festival attire for you. Come on." She took his hand and led him away from the beach, deeper into the lush landscape. As they walked, Roxy pointed out various plants and creatures, sharing stories and insights about her world. "This is a flower called the Lumina Bloom," she said, gesturing to a vibrant plant with petals that glowed softly in the fading light. "It's said that if you wear it during the festival, it brings good luck." "Let's get some of those," Anthony exclaimed, plucking a few flowers from their stems. Roxy laughed, watching him with admiration. "You'll look great wearing them." After collecting several Lumina blooms, they arrived at a clearing where a group of Roxy's friends were already preparing for the festival. Colorful decorations adorned the trees, and laughter filled the air. Roxy waved at them, and they all smiled and beckoned her over. "Roxy, you made it," one of the friends called, a tall figure with azure skin and bright, playful eyes. "And you brought a human with you." "Yes, this is Anthony," Roxy introduced, a sense of pride in her voice. "He's my, companion for the festival." Anthony felt his cheeks warm at the word companion. He smiled and waved at the gathering crowd, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. "We were just about to start dressing up for the festival," Roxy's friend continued. "Come help us pick out outfits." "All right, lead the way," Anthony replied, feeling a thrill of adventure. He joined the group, who were rummaging through an array of colorful fabrics and accessories. As the festival preparations commenced, Anthony marveled at the beauty of the attire. The fabrics shimmered and changed colors in the light, reminiscent of the vibrant hues of the beach. Roxy picked out a flowing tunic made from a lightweight material that looked like woven strands of light. "Here, try this one," she urged, holding it up for him to see. "Wow, that's beautiful," he said, running his fingers over the soft fabric. "I look ridiculous in that." "Not at all. You'll look amazing," Roxy insisted, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "And trust me, everyone wears unique clothing at the festival. It's all about self-expression." After some playful banter, Anthony finally slipped into the tunic, and the group erupted into cheers and laughter. "You look fantastic," Roxy exclaimed, clapping her hands with delight. Anthony twirled around, laughing. "All right, I guess this could work." "Now for accessories," Roxy declared, diving back into the piles of decorations. She pulled out a necklace adorned with luminescent stones that glowed softly in the dark. "This will match perfectly." As she fastened it around his neck, Anthony felt a warmth spread through him. "You know, this is starting to feel more like a celebration than an escape," he remarked, looking at Roxy. "I think I'm finally starting to appreciate Zen 3. Roxy beamed at him, her joy infectious. "I knew you would. This festival is all about connecting with others and celebrating the beauty of life. I'm so glad you're here to share it with me." The group of friends gathered around Anthony, each of them taking turns to adorn him with various pieces of jewelry and colorful sashes. Laughter filled the air as they joked and teased him about his alien fashion sense. Finally, Roxy stepped back to admire him, placing her hands on her hips. "You look incredible. Now it's my turn." She slipped into a stunning gown made of iridescent leaves, each movement making it shimmer like the surface of water. It held her curves elegantly, and Anthony couldn't help but stare. "You look absolutely breathtaking," he said, unable to contain his admiration. Roxy's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of green. "Thank you. I want us to stand out tonight." As the final touches were added, the sounds of drums and melodies echoed through the clearing, signaling that the festival was beginning. Roxy grabbed Anthony's hand, her excitement palpable. "Come on, we can't be late." They rushed through the trees, following the sound of laughter and music, until they arrived at the festival grounds. The area was alive with color and energy. Hundreds of villagers had gathered, adorned in their finest festival attire, creating a sea of shimmering hues that danced in the twilight. "Welcome to the Festival of Moons," Roxy shouted, her voice filled with joy. Anthony gazed around in awe, taking in the vibrant decorations hanging from trees and the soft glow of luminescent orbs floating in the air. The center of the gathering featured a large stage where musicians played enchanting melodies. Dancers swirled gracefully, their movements mimicking the waves of the ocean, just as Roxy had shown him. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter, music, and the smell of delicious food wafting through the air. "This is incredible," Anthony exclaimed, his heart racing with excitement. "I've never seen anything like it." Roxy squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. "Just wait until the moons rise. That's when the real magic happens." As the first moon began to rise, casting a gentle blue light over the crowd, the music changed to a softer, more melodic tune. The villagers gathered closer together, their voices joining in harmonious song, a traditional melody that spoke of unity and connection. "Come on, let's join them," Roxy urged, pulling Anthony into the dance. They swayed to the rhythm, their movements mirroring those around them. Anthony felt the warmth of the community envelop him, and for the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of belonging. As the blue moon climbed higher, its light illuminated the festival, creating an enchanting ambience. Roxy twirled and laughed, her joy infectious as they danced among the villagers. "Feel the energy. It's all about letting go and being in the moment." Anthony closed his eyes, surrendering to the music and the magic of the night. He twirled Roxy, spinning her around in laughter, his heart full. In that moment, he was not a fugitive, not a wanted man. He was simply Anthony, lost in the joy of the festival and the connection he felt with Roxy. "Now, the red moon will rise soon," Roxy said, breathless from the dancing. "It brings passion and creativity to our festivities. Are you ready?" "Absolutely," Anthony replied, eager for whatever came next. As the last echoes of the blue moon faded into the night, the red moon began to ascend, casting a warm crimson glow over the festival. The music shifted, becoming more vibrant and lively, urging everyone to dance with fervor. "Now is the time for the passion dance," Roxy announced, guiding Anthony into the center of the celebration. The villagers formed a circle, their voices rising in excitement as the rhythm quickened. "Follow my lead," Roxy instructed, demonstrating a series of bold, sweeping movements that echoed the flames of the red moon. Anthony watched her, mesmerized, and then joined in, trying to match her energy. As they danced, the connection between them deepened. Roxy's laughter was like a song, and Anthony found himself lost in her spirit. The villagers cheered them on, encouraging their dance with claps and cheers. "Let's show them what Earthlings can do," Anthony shouted over the music, his competitive spirit ignited. He attempted a clumsy yet enthusiastic spin, earning a round of laughter from the crowd. "Go, Anthony," Roxy cheered, her voice filled with encouragement. "You're doing great." The dance continued, each movement fueled by the energy of the festival. Roxy took his hands, leading him through intricate steps, and Anthony felt alive, exhilarated by the passion of the moment. The drums echoed in his chest, and he let himself be swept away by the rhythm of the night. As the dance reached its peak, the villagers joined together, their voices creating a beautiful harmony that reverberated through the air. Anthony and Roxy spun and leaped, their laughter mingling with the music, creating an atmosphere of pure joy. "Are you having fun?" Roxy shouted, her eyes sparkling in the moonlight. "More than I've had in ages," Anthony replied, breathless from the dance. "This is the best night of my life." As the crimson light of the red moon illuminated their faces, Anthony realized how much he had needed this experience. In the chaos of his life, this moment brought clarity, hope, and connection. He had never imagined that fleeing to an alien world could lead him to such profound happiness. The night continued, filled with more dances, songs, and storytelling. Villagers shared tales of bravery and adventure, their voices rising in unity. Roxy leaned against him, her presence warm and comforting as they listened together, lost in the magic of the evening. As the final moon, the green moon, began to rise, a hush fell over the crowd. It was time for the closing ceremony, a moment to honor their bonds and the beauty of their world. Roxy held Anthony's hand tightly, her excitement palpable. "Tonight has been so special," she whispered, her gaze fixed on the sky. "The green moon symbolizes harmony. It's a time to reflect on what we shared and the connections we formed." Anthony nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I'm so glad I'm here with you, Roxy. I feel more at home than I ever thought I would." As the green moon bathed the festival in its soothing light, the villagers gathered in a circle, their voices rising in a song of gratitude. Roxy and Anthony joined in, their hearts intertwined in the moment, surrounded by the warmth of community and connection. In that magical night, under the watchful gaze of the three moons, Anthony Stark found not just freedom, but a sense of belonging he had never known. Together with Roxy, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, fueled by the bonds of friendship and the promise of adventure that awaited them on this beautiful alien world. Secrets of the past, the Festival of Moons wound down, and as the final echoes of laughter and song faded into the night, Anthony found himself nestled beside Roxy on a grassy knoll overlooking crystal shores. The three moons hung above them like shimmering gems in the sky, casting a soft glow over the landscape. The evening's festivities had left him exhilarated yet contemplative, and he turned to Roxy, who was still beaming from the celebration. "That was incredible," Anthony said, his voice filled with awe. "I've never experienced anything like it. Your people really know how to celebrate life." Roxy smiled, her emerald eyes reflecting the light of the moons. "I'm so glad you enjoyed it. The Festival of Moons is a special time for us, a chance to connect with one another and with the beauty of our world. But there's something even more significant about it that I'd like to share with you." "What do you mean?" Anthony asked, intrigued. "Well," Roxy began, her expression turning thoughtful, "the festival is also a time when we honor our ancestors. Each moon represents a different aspect of our heritage. The blue moon represents wisdom, the red moon represents courage, and the green moon represents harmony. It's a reminder of where we come from and the lessons we've learned." "That's beautiful," Anthony replied, feeling a surge of curiosity. "What kind of lessons?" "Let me tell you a story," Roxy said, her voice softening as she settled beside him. "A long time ago, when our people first arrived on Zen 3, we were not alone. The planet was inhabited by powerful beings called the Etherians. They were guardians of the land, deeply connected to nature, and they taught us how to live in harmony with the environment." Anthony leaned closer, captivated by her words. "What happened to them?" Roxy sighed, her gaze drifting to the horizon. "Over time, Our ancestors grew greedy. They wanted to harness the planet's resources without understanding the balance required to maintain it. A great conflict erupted between our people and the Etherians, leading to destruction on both sides. Wow, that sounds intense, Anthony said, his heart heavy. Did your people learn from that? Yes, Roxy nodded, her voice resolute. The remnants of the Etherians taught us a vital lesson, that true strength comes from unity and respect for all living things. After the conflict, our ancestors made a pact with the Etherians to restore the land and its balance. In return, the Etherians gifted us the knowledge to protect and honor the planet. And that's why the Festival of Moons is so important, Anthony asked, piecing together her story. Exactly. It's a reminder of our past and a celebration of our commitment to live in harmony with nature and each other. We honor our ancestors' sacrifices and the wisdom they left behind, Roxy explained, her passion evident. Anthony couldn't help but admire her dedication to her culture. You have such a rich history, Roxy. It's inspiring to see how your people have grown from those experiences. Thank you, she replied, a soft smile playing on her lips. And I'm excited to share more of it with you. There's so much I want you to see and learn about Zen 3. Just then, the gentle sound of waves lapping at the shore caught their attention, and a small group of Roxy's friends approached, their faces illuminated by the moonlight. Roxy, Anthony, come join us for a night under the stars, one of them called, waving them over. Let's go, Roxy said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Anthony took her hand, and together they walked toward the gathering. The friends had set up a cozy space on the beach, complete with cushions and blankets arranged around a small fire. The flames danced, casting flickering shadows as they settled down, their laughter mixing with the sound of the ocean. Tonight, we're going to share stories and wisdom from our ancestors, Roxy's friend announced. Who wants to start? I will, Roxy said, her enthusiasm evident. I have a great story about the Moon Guardian, a legendary figure in our history. As she began to speak, the group quieted, all ears on Roxy. Long ago, when the Etherians still roamed the land, there was a guardian of the moons named Elara. She was wise and powerful, watching over the balance of our planet. Elara had the ability to channel the energies of the moons, using them to protect the land and its creatures. What happened to her? One of the friends asked, leaning forward, captivated. One day, a great darkness fell upon Zen 3, threatening to consume the light of the moons. It was said that an evil force sought to drain the life from the planet. Elara stood alone against this darkness, summoning the power of the moons to create a barrier that would protect our world. She fought bravely, but the darkness was relentless. Anthony listened intently, the firelight dancing in Roxy's eyes as she narrated the tale. In her final moments, Elara called upon all the inhabitants of Zen 3, asking them to remember the harmony they shared with the land. With their collective strength, they channeled their love and gratitude into the moons, and a brilliant light burst forth, banishing the darkness from our world. And what happened to Elara? Anthony asked, feeling the weight of the story. Though she vanished, her spirit lives on in the moons, Roxy continued, her voice filled with reverence. Whenever we gaze up at them, we remember her sacrifice and the lessons she taught us about unity and respect for all life. The group fell silent for a moment, reflecting on Roxy's story. Finally, someone spoke up, breaking the reverie. That's why we celebrate the moons, to honor Elara and the Etherians, and to remind ourselves of our duty to protect our home. Exactly, Roxy chimed in, her eyes shining. We have a responsibility to uphold the values of our ancestors and ensure that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. Anthony felt a deep sense of connection as he listened to their stories, their culture intertwining with his own. Your history is powerful, he said, looking at Roxy and her friends. It reminds me of the importance of learning from our past and finding ways to move forward together. As the night wore on, they shared more stories, each tale weaving together the fabric of their cultures. Anthony found himself opening up about his own experiences on Earth, the struggles and triumphs of humanity, the importance of resilience, and the constant pursuit of knowledge. The warmth of the fire and the camaraderie of his new friends wrapped around him like a comforting blanket, and he felt more at home than he had in years. With every story shared, the bond between him and Roxy deepened, creating a tapestry of trust and understanding. At last, as the night grew late and the stars twinkled overhead, Roxy turned to Anthony, her expression softening. "I'm so grateful you're here, Anthony. You've brought a new perspective to our traditions, and I hope to learn more about your world." "I feel the same way," he replied sincerely. "You've shown me the beauty of Zen 3, and I can't wait to explore more of it with you." As they gazed into each other's eyes, the world around them seemed to fade away. The connection they shared was palpable, a bond forged through stories, laughter, and a shared sense of adventure. "Let's make a pact," Roxy said suddenly, her voice filled with determination. "No matter what challenges we face, we will always remember the lessons of our past and strive to create a brighter future together." "I like that," Anthony said, his heart swelling with hope. "Together we can learn from each other and make a difference." With that, they sealed their pact with a promise to honor the wisdom of their ancestors, to embrace the lessons of their worlds, and to forge a path forward hand in hand. As the fire crackled and the waves continued their gentle lullaby, Anthony realized that he had found something extraordinary on this alien world, a sense of purpose, a connection that transcended boundaries, and a partnership that would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. The night may have been drawing to a close, but their journey was just beginning. With the moons shining brightly above them, Anthony and Roxy prepared to face the unknown, ready to uncover the secrets of Zen 3 and the adventures that awaited them. Together, they would explore not just their worlds, but the depths of their hearts, as they crafted a story that was uniquely their own. Whispers of the Forest. As dawn broke over Zen 3, the vibrant colors of the night sky faded into a soft palette of pinks and golds. Anthony stirred from his slumber on the beach, the gentle sound of waves caressing the shore beckoning him to wake. The festival had been a whirlwind of excitement and connection, leaving him with a sense of belonging he had never felt before. Stretching his arms above his head, he caught sight of Roxy, still sleeping peacefully beside him, her green skin glimmering in the early morning light. He couldn't help but smile as he watched her. The way she had shared her culture with him, the stories of the Etherians and the significance of the moons, had opened a door to a world he had never imagined. In that moment, he felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. His past troubles seemed distant, overshadowed by the beauty of the new friendships he was forging. Gently, Anthony leaned over and brushed a strand of hair from Roxy's face, careful not to wake her. He took a moment to reflect on their pact from the night before, a promise to learn from one another and to explore the depths of both their worlds. It was a commitment that filled him with hope. As the sun climbed higher, Roxy stirred, her eyes fluttering open to meet his gaze. "Good morning, space criminal," she teased, her voice still heavy with sleep but brightening with each word. "Did you dream of dancing with the moons?" "Only of dancing with you," Anthony replied, grinning. The words flowed effortlessly, and he realized he meant them. The bond they had forged was becoming deeper and more meaningful. Roxy's cheeks turned a deeper shade of green, and she sat up, brushing sand from her hair. "Well, I'm glad you're awake. There's so much more I want to show you today." "What do you have in mind?" he asked, curiosity piquing. "Today, we're going to explore the Whispering Forest," Roxy said, her excitement palpable. "It's a sacred place filled with ancient trees and creatures that hold the memories of our ancestors. Many believe the forest is alive, and if you listen closely, you can hear its whispers." "Whispers, that sounds intriguing," Anthony said, feeling a thrill of anticipation. "Lead the way." They packed a small bag with Lumina blooms from the previous night, a few snacks, and a small canteen of water. As they began their journey, Roxy took the lead, guiding Anthony through the vibrant landscape of Zen 3. The lush vegetation was unlike anything he had ever seen on Earth, with towering trees that seemed to stretch endlessly towards the sky, their trunks covered in iridescent moss and their leaves shimmering in shades of emerald and teal. Each tree in the whispering forest has a story, Roxy explained as they walked. The ancient Etherians would communicate with the trees, seeking their wisdom. They believed that the trees could share knowledge from the past, present, and future. Wow, Anthony mused, glancing up at the towering giants around them. That's incredible. How do you know when a tree is sharing its story? Roxy smiled, her eyes twinkling with mischief. You have to listen closely. Sometimes it's a gentle rustling of leaves, and other times it's a soft voice that only the pure of heart can hear. Would you like to try? Absolutely, Anthony replied, intrigued. Show me how it's done. They ventured deeper into the forest, the sounds of nature enveloping them. A chorus of birds singing harmoniously, the rustling of small creatures in the underbrush, and the distant sound of water flowing. The atmosphere was thick with magic, and Anthony felt a sense of peace settle over him. After a while, Roxy halted beside a grand tree with a massive trunk and branches that sprawled out like the arms of a giant. This is elder willow, she announced. It's one of the oldest trees in the forest. Many say it holds the wisdom of our ancestors. Anthony placed his hand on the rough bark, feeling a pulse of energy beneath his fingertips. What do I do now? He asked, looking at Roxy for guidance. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Let the sounds of the forest wash over you. Focus on the tree and be open to its whispers, she instructed softly. Obeying her words, Anthony closed his eyes and inhaled deeply. The air was rich with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers, grounding him. As he listened, he let the forest's symphony envelop him, the rustling leaves, the distant calls of creatures, and the soft murmur of the wind weaving through the branches. After a moment, he began to hear something more, an almost melodic whisper, faint but distinct, like a gentle breeze carrying secrets. Roxy, I think I hear something, he exclaimed, excitement bubbling within him. Keep listening, she urged, her voice low and encouraging. What do you hear? It's like a story, he said slowly, concentrating harder. It speaks of unity, of a time when the Etherians and your people came together. It talks about harmony and respect for the land. Roxy's eyes widened in awe. You're really hearing it. The elder willow is sharing its wisdom with you. It's an honor. Anthony opened his eyes, exhilarated. This is amazing. I've never experienced anything like this before. It's as if the tree is alive with memories. Each tree has its own story to tell, Roxy explained, a proud smile gracing her lips. And the more you listen, the more you will learn. Let's continue exploring. They moved deeper into the forest, stopping at various trees to listen to their stories. Each whisper seemed to convey lessons from the past, reminding them of the importance of balance, compassion, and community. As they walked, Roxy shared more about her culture's connection to the forest. The whispering forest is a sacred space for us. We come here to reflect and seek guidance. It's a place where we can reconnect with our roots and remember our purpose. What's your purpose? Anthony asked, genuinely curious. Roxy paused, her expression thoughtful. My purpose? I believe it's to share the wisdom of my ancestors and protect the beauty of our world. I want to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated, and that future generations learn to cherish the planet. Anthony nodded, impressed by her conviction. That's a powerful purpose, and I feel like I can relate to that in my own way. On Earth, we're learning about sustainability and the impact we have on the environment. It's a journey, but I think it's a necessary one. Roxy smiled, her eyes shining with admiration. We can learn from each other's journeys, Anthony. Your experiences on Earth can teach us about resilience and innovation. Together, we can find new ways to protect our worlds. As they continued through the forest, Anthony couldn't shake the feeling of destiny weaving its threads around them. Here he was, a human from a distant planet, learning from an extraordinary alien woman about her culture and the importance of preserving their worlds. It felt like a story waiting to unfold, one that intertwined their fates. After a while, they reached a clearing bathed in dappled sunlight, where a small stream trickled over smooth stones. Roxy sat down on a large rock, motioning for Anthony to join her. "This is one of my favorite spots. It's peaceful here, and the water is always fresh." Anthony settled beside her, feeling the warmth of the sun on his skin. "It's beautiful," he said, watching the water dance over the stones. "I can see why you love it." Roxy took a moment, gazing at the stream. "You know, sometimes the whispers of the forest can be overwhelming. I come here to reflect and find my balance again." Anthony turned to her, sensing the weight behind her words. "Do you ever feel lost?" She nodded slowly. "Sometimes, yes. There's so much pressure to uphold the values of my ancestors and to be a protector of our world. I want to make a difference, but I fear I may not be enough." "You're already making a difference," Anthony said firmly. "By sharing your culture with me and showing me the beauty of Zen 3, you're creating connections that matter. You have the power to inspire others." Roxy smiled, a hint of vulnerability in her eyes. "Thank you, Anthony. Your words mean a lot to me. I think we all need reminders of our worth and purpose." They sat in companionable silence for a while, allowing the soothing sounds of the stream to wash over them. Anthony felt a surge of admiration for Roxy. Her strength and dedication were inspiring. In that moment, he wanted to support her in any way he could. "What if we organized a gathering? A way to share the wisdom of the whispering forest with others," he suggested, a spark of excitement igniting within him. "We could invite your friends and the villagers, create an event where people can come and listen to the trees' stories." Roxy's eyes widened with delight. "That's a brilliant idea. A way to honor our ancestors and educate others about the importance of nature. We can share stories, dance, and celebrate our connection to the forest." "Exactly," Anthony said, feeling the energy between them shift. "We could create a festival that combines both our cultures, Earth and Zen 3, celebrating our shared commitment to protecting our worlds." "I love that," Roxy exclaimed, her enthusiasm palpable. "We can start planning right away. This could be the beginning of something truly special." The prospect of their collaborative festival filled Anthony with exhilaration. It was a chance to merge their worlds, to create a bridge between cultures that could inspire unity and respect for the environment. Together, they would embark on a new adventure, one that would deepen their bond and highlight the importance of connection. As they made their way back through the whispering forest, Anthony felt a sense of purpose growing within him. He was not just a fugitive on the run anymore. He was part of something larger, something meaningful. With Roxy by his side, he was ready to face the challenges ahead, not just for himself, but for the future of their worlds. "Let's make a pact," Roxy said suddenly, stopping in the middle of the path. "We'll work together to create this festival and honor our ancestors. It will be our gift to the land and to the generations that follow." Anthony smiled, his heart swelling with emotion. "I promise. We'll make it happen together." With that, they clasped hands, sealing their pact under the ancient trees of the whispering forest. The energy around them felt alive, vibrant with possibility. As they continued their journey, both Anthony and Roxy knew that their partnership would be a catalyst for change, igniting a spark of hope for the future. Together, they would weave a new story, one that embraced their differences while celebrating their shared values. The path ahead was uncertain, but with each step, they felt more connected, ready to face whatever lay in store, united by a purpose that transcended the stars.